Good morning, everybody. This morning I want to start off with the great song by Woody Guthrie. And you may feel like, hey, I don't feel like singing This Land Is Your Land right now, the way things are. But I'll tell you, I think this is the perfect time to sing This Land Is Your Land, because this is the time that Woody Guthrie was writing about. This is the kind of stuff some of this was going on in Woody's time when he wrote these lyrics. These are Woody's original lyrics to This Land Is Your Land. And you're sitting there at home, sing along with me. As I was walking that ribbon of highway, I saw above me that endless skyway. I saw below me that golden valley. This land was made for you and me. This land is your land. This land is my land. From California to the New York Island, from the redwood forest to the Gulf Stream waters. This land was made for you and me. I roamed and rambled, and I followed my footsteps to the sparkling sands of her diamond deserts. And all around me a voice was calling. This land was made for you and me. This land is your land, this land is my land. From California to the New York Island, from the redwood forest to the Gulf Stream waters. This land was made for you and me. The sun was shining as I went strolling, with the wheat fields waving and the dust clouds rolling. The fog was lifting and a voice was calling. This land was made for you and me. As I was walking, I saw a sign there, and on that sign said, no trespassing. But on the other side, you know, it didn't say nothing. Now that side was made for you and me. In the squares of the city, in the shadow of the steeple, near the relief office, I see my people, and some are grumbling, and some are wondering if this land was made for you and me. But let me tell you, this land is your land, this land is my land. From California to the New York Island, from the redwood forest to the Gulf Stream waters. This land was made for you and me. Nobody living can ever stop me as I go walking that freedom highway. Nobody living can make me turn back, 'cause this land was made for you and me. Everybody sing! This land is your land, this land is my land. From California to the New York Island, from the redwood forest to the Gulf Stream waters. This land was made for you and me. This land was made for you and me.
This is a new day. This is a new day full of sound and light and expectation. This day has been waiting for you. This day has been waiting especially for you, to embrace you, to guide you. This day has been waiting with open arms just for you. This is the day we have been given. Let's not waste it. Come now, let us worship together. Welcome, everybody. My name is Reverend Joseph Boyd. This church is your church. We are streaming live from 1105 Elm Street in one of the greatest cities in the world, Youngstown, Ohio. And we welcome all of you in Mahoning County, Trumbull County, and those across the United States, in South Carolina, in Colorado, in New York City, in California. We welcome our special friend from Brazil who tunes in just about every week, and those who may hear from your friends across the world and across the United States that this church is your church. For over a century, this church has stood with the marginalized and the vulnerable. We've been proud to wave a rainbow flag for over a decade now to signify this place as a safe sanctuary for all those who identify as LGBTQIA+. We have raised a Black Lives Matter banner to make distinctive that this is a church and a city where that is indeed the case, and our policies and institutions need to mirror that reality. It is such a gift to be with you this morning. We have a number of really wonderful events that are coming, as well as Sunday worship service. After this, at 12:30 p.m., we have summer religious education. So at this church, we do religious education very differently. It's not maybe what you maybe knew in some Christian churches where you're just coloring or reading something from the Bible. We really want to engage the world, and so I'll read to you what's happening this afternoon. This week we'll be learning about what makes something a fish and what makes something a bird. We will be creating a bird feeder. Needed supplies are a pine cone or a toilet paper roll. I know the toilet paper roll still might be quite rare. Nut butter or shortening. You don't want to melt it though. Strings or some kind of cereal will work just fine. So this will be at 12:30 p.m. If you are listening and you have a child, and a child is someone under the 18 years of age, so if you have a teenager, a child, somebody who's school age, you can put your email down in the chat box, and we can put you on our email that goes out to all the families every week about programming offered for your children. So just down in the chat box, you can just say, I'm interested in RE, just RE, and then put your email, and we will definitely connect you to all those happenings. This coming Tuesday at 7 o'clock, I invite you to join me. We're going to be engaging next month's worship theme. This month's worship theme is abolition. Next month's worship theme is reconstruction. I've been very inspired by Reverend Dr. William Barber, who said that he believes we are in the third stage of reconstruction in the United States. The first stage of reconstruction was after the Civil War. The second stage of reconstruction was the Civil Rights Movement. And now we are undergoing a large form of reconstruction in the United States. And so I would love to get your insight as we create worship for August. And you can come and offer your ideas. You can come and say, hey, I would like to participate in some way, which you can do from home, as you see we do. So again, this is going to be this coming Tuesday at 7 o'clock, 7 to 8 p.m., and it's going to be using the same link as you use for worship. So please, tune in if you're interested. And Thursday, starting July 16th, Thursday, July 23rd, Thursday, July 30th at 7 p.m., there's going to be a study group on the book by Robin DiAngelo, White Fragility. So the White Fragility study group will run every Thursday at 7 o'clock, starting July 16th for 3 weeks. So coming up this Thursday at 7 o'clock, and it will be using this link, the same link that you use for worship. So if you have read the book, White Fragility, definitely participate, but I know most of you probably have not read the book. And our church is offering you a free copy. So if you would like a free copy, again, put your name down in the chat box and say, White Fragility copy, please. And we can send that to you. We're offering that for free for anybody who's interested, so you can participate in the study group. And now, I would like to go to our chalice lighter, who's going to be Sue Angelotti from her home. So thank you, Sue, for offering your words.
During this unusual time, how often have we heard that? I've never experienced anything like it, nor has anyone. Reverend Joseph asked me to talk about how I've been affected and what I've been doing. In spite of having the flu shot, I was sick for the whole month of January. I had symptoms I had never experienced, and now I think it was COVID-19. In February, things returned to normal, and then March, everything shut down. I'm very lucky because my husband, Jim Ray, and I have been healthy through this, and we're retired, so our income wasn't affected. We live in our own house with our 2 cats, and all we needed was to go out and get food. Since he's 90 and I'm the youngest one, 82, I masked up and did the grocery shopping every week and picked up things for friends who were shopping online. What I missed right away were my exercise classes at the Y. Since I am an artist, you'd think that I'd use this free time to paint a lot, but I've been doing other things. Kelsey Myers had a 1-session writing class on Zoom where she prompted us to write a story and then she critiqued it. I've written 4 stories since then, and I never did that before. The stories are about things that I think my grandchildren might find interesting. I told 3 of them on the UUYO Story Lounge the first Friday of the month in the spring. We had 2 college graduations and 1 high school graduation among our 14 grandchildren. We had the I did a lot of photo sorting and organizing, but that is not finished. I bought a new photo scanner and I don't know how to use it. I have been cooking a lot and I tried new recipes. That worked out better. My golf group started late this year, so I spent a lot more time than usual doing yard work. I took advantage of Gary Davenport's Monday evening gardening discussion. He even gave me some wild ginger. I've gotten to know more about church members from our discussions on our Zoom dinner party and the book clubs. I don't spend much time thinking about the future because I have no idea what's coming. We put a Black Lives Matter sign in our yard in Poland, which is a very small thing, but it's something we could do. And 2 neighbors also have done the same thing. I realize that more change is happening than I can imagine, and I'm glad to be in a church community that is open to change.
And now, if you'll join me in reading the covenant of the church. Love is the spirit of this church, and service its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. Each month, we give to an organization that supports transformation in our community, which is the heart of our mission. In our church's historic commitment to the well-being of our community, we give 100% of our offering to those in need. UUYO's Give Away the Plate recipient for July is the Trumbull County Historical Society. The Trumbull County Historical Society collects, preserves, and promotes the ongoing heritage of Warren and Greater Trumbull County. They support this through developing and sustaining programs and exhibitions, raising awareness of historic buildings and sites, and partnering with local and regional institutions to provide education and enjoyment for audiences of all ages and interests. Recently, the Trumbull County Historical Society has launched their Voices Oral History Project, which will preserve the experiences of elders in Warren's Black community. Before kicking off the project, the Historical Society reached out to residents and attended meetings and community events to gauge the desire for the project and found a desire to show the larger community how racism affected the community in the past and continues to have consequences today. So far, the website, www.voicesoftc.org, includes more than 100 interview clips and are accepting new submissions. Responding to the growing attention to and interest to learn more about the Black experience and Black history in America, TCHS recently launched hashtag Black History Fridays on their Facebook page as a response to Black history not being taught in schools. Black history is American history, and TCHS wants to do their part to teach the whole story. TCHS has also hosted and co-hosted webinars and speakers discussing Black history and the Great Migration and the impacts of redlining in our local communities. We now accept the offering for this community and for this organization.
This week, as we were considering music for this Sunday, Joseph and I bumped into a song from the movie Harriet, which is the story of Harriet Tubman. It's an old Negro spiritual, and it had some really cool voice work in it. And so I asked Jennifer if she would be willing to spend a little time and put a couple tracks down for me and for the background of this song. So thanks to Jennifer for this one. And this one is called Wade in the Water.
Wade in the water, wade in the water, children, wade in the water. God's gonna trouble the water.
Who's that yonder dressed in white?
God's gonna trouble the water.
Must be the children of the Israelites.
God's gonna trouble the water. Wade in the water.
Won't you wade in the water, children, wade in the water.
God's gonna trouble the water.
Who's that yonder dressed in red?
God's gonna trouble the water.
Must be the children that Moses led.
God's gonna trouble the water.
I said,
Wade
way down,
water.
won't you wade in the water, children, wade in the water.
God's gonna trouble the water.
Well,
God's gonna trouble the water.
I said,
Wade
we're going in the deep end now. Wade in the water, wade
in the water.
You know that God's gonna trouble the water. Yes, He is.
In the water.
God will wade in the water, children, wade in the water. God's gonna trouble the water.
Meditation. Take a moment just to sit or lay down and breathe together.
are living in a moment of change and upheaval, a time of immense pain and suffering, but also a time of hope and tremendous possibility. We are in the midst of the deadly coronavirus pandemic, and we are just 4 months away from presidential and congressional elections. But we are also in a moment of great reckoning. Because of the courage and determination of activists, the movement for black lives and good people across the country. This reckoning is a confrontation of the legacy of racism and genocide upon which this nation was built. Monuments to slave owners, traitors, and Confederate generals are being pulled down as the uprising against police violence has regained momentum. A new generation of abolitionists is picking up the mantle and building upon the work of activists, scholars, and martyrs who came before them. Many of these activists are mobilizing around both broad and specific goals. Among them, defunding the police, abolishing the carceral system of jails and prisons, and attacking the systems and symbols of racism and white supremacy. It is vitally important that during a time such as this, we take a moment to step back and look at the bigger picture, the historical context, and the possibilities that lay before us. Too often, our standards for evaluating social movements pivot around whether or not they succeeded in realizing their visions rather than on the merits or power of the visions themselves. By such a measure, virtually every radical movement failed because the basic power relations they sought to change remained pretty much intact. And yet, it is precisely these alternative visions and dreams that inspire new generations to struggle for change.
As soon as you're born, they make you feel small by giving you no time instead of it all, till the pain is so big you feel nothing at all. The working class hero is something to be. The working class hero is something to be. They hurt you at home, they hit you at school. They hate you if you're clever and they despise a fool. Till you're so crazy you can't follow the rules. The working class hero is something to be. The working class hero is something to be. When they've tortured and scared you for 20-odd years, then they expect you to pick a career. When you can't really function, you're so full of fear. The working class hero is something to be. Working class hero is something to be. Keep you doped with religion and sex and TV. And you think you're so clever and classless and free, but you're still only peasants as far as I can see. The working class hero is something to be. The working class hero is something to be. There's room at the top, they are telling you still. But first you must learn how to smile as you kill. If you want to be like the folks on the hill. The working class hero is something to be. The working class hero is something to be. If you want to be a hero, well, just follow me. If you want to be a hero, well, just follow me.
It seems we are on the edge of something huge and unforeseen. With a combination of various events merging the political, social, and personal into a movement that is becoming part of our normal life, a movement that is taking us toward the great unknown. As we take a breath, which is always recommended, and assess our landscape, both inner and outer, it is unmistakable that all of our lives, regardless of class, race, gender, or sexuality, have reached a particular poignant intensity. The desire to be with our families who live far away. The desire to abolish systems that hunt and hurt and seek to enslave our fellow citizens as second class. The near constant dread of how long we may need to live in this alternate reality that seems to have no clear finish line. The anxiety about schooling. The anxiety about work. What our jobs will look like. Whether we'll have a job in 2, 3, 4 months. All of this inevitably can lead down a path for some where the great religious questions pose themselves, and even if there is no clear, straightforward answer, beg to be reckoned with. Questions like, what is the meaning of this moment? Where is my life taking me? And what say do I have, if any, in that? I find my sleep has become more erratic these days. It is not because I'm in a bad way, personally. I'm fortunate to be gainfully employed doing something that gives me great meaning and satisfaction. I have my health and numerous other things that I know in this time are luxuries, not a given. Even with this being the case, I feel the collective yearning in this moment for something else. I feel the collective yearning for some kind of alternative where our children may have a world that is more just, more considerate of our workforce and the health of our citizens, a world where living doesn't need to be done in trepidation, fear, or near constant grief. In this moment of great simultaneous losses, the losses of individuals whom we loved, individuals who are impacted by the choices we make, and the choices we don't make, and the choices that were made and unquestioned before us. It is the weight of this potential choice that I think is weighing down on us at this moment. And even if there isn't a straightforward answer, needs to be reckoned with. The choice of how we might live as an individual in a nation that is yet to fully conceive of itself as a true people. Outside a pub in England, there was a tongue-in-cheek sign placed outside on the sidewalk that said, "All Americans must be accompanied by an adult." It's funny, and also painfully not. Part of the process of growing up is recognizing our relation to others outside of ourselves. Part of the process of maturing is coming to terms with events and choices that have led to our life as we know it, and seeking to live that life fully in the service of others, in mutual benefit. It is an optional process, I'm learning. I don't mean this in a condescending way. I don't think there is an end to growing up. I don't think we should be self-satisfied that we've reached a certain place of growth, even if others have not reached that exact same place. I think that growth is a never-ending process, and becoming a true grown-up is what our life is about. I'm still on the way to growing up. I hope to always be growing and learning, and having my world always expand, even if it contradicts what I've always held to be true. I'd rather be mistaken and grow rather than stagnant with the belief that my worldview is inherently correct at all times. It is inherently correct that I'm never 100% correct. There is always more to learn, more to understand, more to digest and make part of our everyday life. This moment is a gigantic learning curve. We may have thought we were on our way to becoming amateur epidemiologists, learning about the ins and outs, finding about transmission of a novel virus. We were on our way to becoming historians of science, looking back at the worldwide plague events. We have become amateur economists, understanding how our capitalist system works and how stimulus checks may be needed, more than one, to even stimulate modest growth. We've become amateur philosophers, looking at the best ways to spend our time here with the clear and unavoidable backdrop of life and death and the tenuous, vulnerable nature of being alive. We've become amateur political scientists, memorizing the words of commentators and pundits from different political factions, and understanding how divisive and fraught this moment is for various segments of the population, including ourselves. Oh, and I forgot, we've become amateur techies, learning the ins and outs of global communication, education, even worship, through the clicking of buttons on a screen from our homes. On top of all this, we've been given a clear and harsh reminder of the original sin of this country, racism. Racism that led to slavery over 400 years ago and is very much alive and exists today. This awareness has broadened and opened our eyes to our current plight. It's opened our eyes to the plight of our indigenous sisters and brothers and other people of color who are invisible women and men in our straining but still dominant culture of whiteness. What I've just described would be an incredible and rich lifetime for any one of us. But for many of us, this journey was not the journey of a lifetime. It was the journey of 4 months. 4 months out of 70 years for some. 4 months out of 50 years. 4 months out of 35. For those who are quite young right now, 4 months that will come to shape the scope and vision of what they believe life to be, what they believe it means to be human. A moment can never be isolated. A moment can never be isolated from other moments, as it does not just impact only what comes next, but the way we perceive and look at what came before. It is why this time is a movement, not a moment. This year so far is beginning to shape perhaps not just what tomorrow may be, but what our lives may be and more accurately feel like 20, 30, 50 years from now. This moment will have a lifespan that most likely will outlive us and come to carve out the innate possibilities and struggles that will define our human family. I was provoked by Robin D.G. Kelley, who wrote in his book, Freedom Dreams, The Black Radical Imagination, that we often look at movements and assess whether they succeeded or failed. And we must inevitably come to the conclusion that if the goal of these various movements is to fundamentally change the power structure of the time and place of which we live, then we would have to say, according to this criteria, that all movements have failed. Failed in the sense that their success was partial, if at all, and even then attacked and diminished in the ensuing years by the power structure the movement sought to alter. When I talk with many people at this time, black, white, young, old, working, or middle class, there is a shared agreement that the current movements we are seeing are some of the largest in terms of participation the world has ever seen. There is agreement about that. But I almost always sense something underneath this evaluation that goes unspoken often. A question if all of this will be successful or not. A question about whether this is a red-hot moment that in time will cool and become a staunch conservatism, or if this moment will really change the way we know life to feel like in this moment. Robin D.G. Kelley assesses this question as a scholar, and though I'm uncertain if he has any religious affiliation whatsoever, his answer, I think, is profound and points to the mystery of what it means to live knowing we'll die. The power of a moment like this, the power that a moment of great solidarity and compassion and sacrifice, unlike the world has ever seen, must be measured against another metric rather than the dualistic success or failure. It is the question of vision and outlook, a metric that measures the depth of our living, the breadth of our imagination, a metric that is concerned with how we live with success or failure. How we live with success or failure, as much, if not more, than whether we achieve success or failure. It is concerned with the vision that we feed and keep alive in our lifetime, so that others might find a space they might truly live into, even if that space is marginal, perceived as radical, or without significant power or merit in the way we commonly measure those things. It is concerned with leaving the world with an alternative, pure and simple, an alternative to the way we see, feel, and live into our life. An alternative way to understand your place as a member of a community. An alternative vision that understands love and sacrifice, not just as romantic ideals, but shared experiences of living. Shared experiences that give life its meaning, even when it's painful sometimes. We are still in a moment culturally when we want to live a life where there isn't much at stake. A life that is mostly concerned with ourselves as individuals. A life that seeks pleasure as the ultimate goal, with as little discomfort as possible. It is a moment of grief to see that this life no longer makes sense. Not if we want to live a real life in relationship with others and in relationship with the time and place we actually live in. This doesn't mean there isn't room for lightness or humor or pleasure. These are all very special aspects of our lives, and we will never and should never give these up. I think there's simply a growing understanding that we are growing in capacity as a global species to live a whole life. A life that doesn't shirk or hide from discomfort or moments of sacrifice. A life that includes pleasure, humor, and lightness, along with the sense of compassion and solidarity with our fellow sisters and brothers across the globe who are undergoing hardship. Instead of seeing their hardship as an addition to our own hardship, we are beginning to see the truth. Hardship shared, fully shared, is no longer hardship. It is the joy and meaning of life. A life that is much wider than we knew. A life of laughter, humor, and simple pleasure. A life in communion with those who have suffered invisibly. A life that is truly our own, in different form. Like many, I'm really curious about where this movement will lead us, and I'm optimistic. I'm not optimistic because I'm certain that success is at hand. I'm optimistic because we are already succeeding in the way that truly lasts and matters. We are succeeding in changing the way we and those who come after will see and feel what their life is like. We are succeeding in feeling in all of our cells, in our bodies, as well as our minds, that we belong to a community, even if we never really knew or paid attention, especially to those who are invisible. We are making the invisible visible. We are making entire groups of people visible. And it's no surprise that each of our own lives is becoming increasingly visible, known, and felt by us in ways perhaps we never have before. So I invite you to take heart and join me in celebrating this success. This success does not negate or supersede failure, especially recognizing how much we collectively need to grow up to save ourselves and save our planet. But it encourages me. It gives me courage that I'm not the only one who's being asked to live more courageously. I'm not the only one who is coming to terms with the invisible that is now blatantly visible and demands our reckoning. I'm encouraged by those who are becoming heroes before our eyes, heroes who just by living their everyday life open up new vistas of vision and new valleys of feeling and experience. I'm heartened by the young people who are discovering what their life is truly about in friendship and alliance. And all the young, middle-aged, elderly, black, white, Asian, indigenous, and Hispanic who are discovering the depth of their life in this moment. We are truly in an awesome moment that carries with it a momentum that we have no choice but to reckon with. We must reckon with the reality of success, a success of vision and living in unprecedented times. Please pray with me. Spirit of love, we pray for peace that knows justice. We pray for the increasing bonds of friendship. We pray that we might find joy in struggle and meaning, and that we might feel that we truly belong, not just to ourselves, but to a history, to a people, to a place, and to a vision. Please help us to encourage one another, to support each other in gentle perseverance, and to keep our success always at the forefront of our mind. All this we pray. Amen.
I, the Lord of sea and sky, I have heard my people cry. I have learned to listen to, my hand will say, I who made the stars of night, I will make their darkness bright. Who will bear my light to them? Whom shall I send? Here I am, Lord. Is it I, Lord? I have heard you calling in the night. I will go, Lord, if you lead me. I will hold your people in my heart. I, the Lord of snow and rain, I have borne my people's pain. I have wept for love of them. they turn away. I will break their hearts of stone, give them hearts for love alone. Who will speak my word to them? Whom shall I send? Here I am, Lord. Is it I, Lord? I have heard you calling in the night. I will go, Lord, if you lead me. I will hold your people in my heart. I, the Lord of wind and flame, I will tend the poor and lame. I will set a feast for them. My hand will save. Finest bread I will provide, till their hearts be satisfied. I will give my life to them. Whom shall I send? Here I am, Lord. Is it I, Lord? I have heard you calling in the night. I will go, Lord, if you lead me. I will hold your people in my heart. I will hold your people in my heart.
We extinguish this flame, but not the light of the truth, the warmth of the community, or the fire of commitment. These we keep in our hearts until we meet again.
You are loved and never truly alone.
Nobody living can ever stop me as I go walking that freedom highway. Nobody living can make me turn back. This land was made for you and for me. This land is your land. This land is my land. From California to the New York Island, from the redwood forest to the Gulf Stream waters. This land was made for you and me. This land was made for everybody, you and me. This land was made for you and me.
So now I'd like to do a brief talk back before